Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, my bad for being away for a few days, but stuff, life. Either way, we have balance update for Arcade and NorthStar, and in my opinion both of these champions are needing help, especially NorthStar. But as far as Arcade goes, he has been moderately decent defender. Once you kind of figure out how to fight him, he's not that bad though. But, well, first let's hear what Kabam has to say on both of them, and then I'll give you guys my input. So, Balance team here again with the update on the latest round of champions up for review, Arcade and NorthStar. Arcade. With a gauntlet of traps and tricks, Arcade was designed to reward space control both as an attacker and as a defender. An attacking Arcade requires some setup to get his damage loop going, but the benefits from wide utility set, as long as you keep winning prize tickets, and same space control granted by his booby trap. A defending Arcade was designed to be punishing with two main threats. His auto block and poisonous clouds. A review of Arcade's performance so far indicates that the damage output by his attacker loop is coming up shorter than targeted in most encounters, notably the poison damage from his poisonous clouds. And yeah, that's like the biggest problem with Arcade. It's very cool, fair amount of immunities, fair amount of things going on in his kit, but it's just not quite... He doesn't have enough damage for mainstay use, and will be rebalanced as a result. Arcade's impact defensively has been slow but solid, having found some success in a few spots on the Alliance War map over time, and has been impactful in some but not all Battleground seasons since release. Arcade's rebalance will be focused on upgrading his Poisonous Cloud and auto block gameplay. With Arcade, the problem I kind of feel like is, as soon as you know how to fight him on defense, he really isn't that tough to deal with. Push him to level 2s, don't let him finish the heavy attack, and, you have to wait the last blade, so if you don't, parry heavy. That's about it. Not being able to, corner him for long periods of time can sometimes be annoying and mess you up a bit as well, but other than that, I do feel like he's the type of champion whose defensive value will always diminish if he ever gets semi-popular, and therefore it will go back down again. However, he kind of feels a bit somewhat chunky at times, and still there's the AI factor. So if he was a decent to good attacker, he might have, some popularity. I'm not saying nobody likes or uses Arcade right now, but realistically he hasn't had much of an impact, especially offensively. So, welcome the change. Hope it's good enough. Hope that the poison clouds get, solid damage bump, and he becomes a mainstay champion. I'm a bit skeptical though, but sure. Right, now we have NorthStar. And NorthStar is a bit more difficult and different story, because NorthStar is a champion that's designed for longer fights. And that's what I say here. NorthStar flew into the contest with the goal of being reliable and effective attacker in longer fights. I just strongly believe that concept by itself dooms a champion to failure. Especially if he has to start that ramp up, every fight from zero, because he effectively does. And, or close to it. No, wait, I think it's completely zero. Anyways, I just do think, long fight format champions will never really be that popular, because even for newer players who could in theory use these champions in mainstay, but they're like pushing for the new progression titles, going story content and stuff like that, and are forced to take fights with lower ranked champions than initially designed, let's say. People are still not investing in these champions, and if they can invest in a champion, they will invest in a meta champion, not specifically for punching upwards much. And overall, especially with Kabam's design philosophies changing and the resource acquisition coming from side events and alliance events and everywhere else along the way, you can, these days, as you're progressing through, you can kind of overrank your champions by the time you're actually tackling those fights skill-wise. The only, type of players really that I can think would find NorthStar effective is, for instance, if I or somebody who's very experienced in the game started a new account, got him early, and was using NorthStar to punch up. But even then, I highly doubt that I would invest in NorthStar. Perhaps just, to find out and figure out new things, more so as novelty or curiosity type thing. But you can strongly disagree with that if you wish. It's just that, again, if you're designing champion for long fights, there has to be something more. Like Serpent is a long fight design champion with, somewhat of permanent ramp up in a quest where you do ramp him up with the charges as well. But even then, 90+% of the use Serpent gets is a defender. And because he's a good defender, he's a valuable champion. Okay, so while investigating this target for NorthStar, we discovered two things. At 10 momentum, NorthStar was able to stun lock opponents for millions of health at a time. Players, for the most part, were struggling to consistently ramp up NorthStar. And the third thing that they should investigate is that nobody really wanted to ramp up NorthStar because, again, there typically are better and easier to handle options. This has NorthStar in awkward spot of struggling where he was targeted while also being too automatic in niche situations. To address this, we have decided to rebalance NorthStar on max of 6 momentum, cutting the 10 momentum stun ability. Goal is for his ceiling to be around the same place because we are happy with where he performs when he gets there, but easier and quicker to hit the ceiling within a fight. And here again, if he is, and here's going to be the key factor, because by doing this, they are going kind of directly in opposition to what I said the NorthStar's purpose is. They're speeding him up. They're not changing his ceiling, they're just making him faster. And again, that, leads me to ask the inevitable question. It's like, why design him for long fights in the first place? Because that's not what, the game at large values at the moment, or is needed in the game at large. So if he's, and this is again kind of silly. So if they make him to ramp up fast enough, he's going to be, great damaging attack champion and might see some popularity, which will defeat his initial design purpose for being, a long fight champion. But that's the key with NorthStar. If he can nuke down champions now, there are things in NorthStar's kit that can be quite useful and he might see some play. But that's only if they do make his damage output high enough and perhaps even slightly easier to kind of maintain or less troublesome. So ultimately, that's obviously a good thing. I, always hold a bit of skepticism with the quality of the buffs, especially for these rebalances. At the same time, I wish that these champions are good. I do not wish for a single bad champion, to be released or to be left in a game. And I thoroughly believe that if Kabam does a good job, these champions do have the ability to actually become valued and useful, more so than are right now, which effectively, let's face it again, is kind of like a niche ramp up or a niche use situation or personal affiliation or personal affection to the champion. They are by no means anywhere close to being like mainstream meta champions. And, not every champion can be amazing, but you kind of wish that, you'd still have a desire to acquire that champion. Anyways, a trio of rebalances incoming. Arcade, NorthStar, and Silver Sables tuning updates are slated to release in January on our 48.1 build. So it means in December we have 0 tune-ups, which is fine because in December we should have 3 of the reworks coming for all the champions, because so far we have had Medusa, Purgatory, and Black Panther, and they promised us 3 more by end of the year. That should be December. So for the upcoming couple of months, we will actually see quite a few champions worked on. So for the first time in a really long while, it genuinely feels like the buff and balance program is, putting in a solid amount of work and effort. Because for a while there was just like nothing happening. Right. So you can expect communication about the Patriot and the Leader's balance review towards the middle of December. And again, both these champions should get a tune-up, right? Because, Patriot was designed with Photon as the primary counter and, primary threat that Patriot solves. And he's barely top 5, if that, to counter Photon. Sorry, did I say Serpent? I meant Photon. Anyways, so yeah, he's really not a good champion. One would say it's the biggest miss that particular designer has had when it comes to the terms of impactful champions. And the leader, I think he could be cool as well. He's just, a bit too weak, slow. Decent amount of utility, kind of like the champion. It's just he's not quite up there either. So I do kind of hope and expect both of these champions to get help from Kabam as well, because they do desperately need it. And there we go. So this is the time Kabam is, well, fixing the disappointments of the year, I suppose. Let me know what you guys think. I'm excited for changes to Arcade and NorthStar. And I shall see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all